What is up guys, Andy Forrest Theme Runner here, and today we've been going through my top racing shoes of 2020. So welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be diving into my top racing shoes of 2020. Now this year we've seen some incredible innovation, technology, you name it, we've seen it. And the shoes, the racing shoes in particular, that have been produced this year are absolutely out of this world. We're going to be diving into the shoes that I managed to get, talk about the ones that I didn't manage to get, and then of course ask your feedback at the end as to which your favourite racing shoe of this year has been. If you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with the first one. So we'll start off the list with the Hoka One One Carbon X. Yes, I'm aware that is not the Carbon X, that's the Rocket X. I no longer have the Carbon X in my possession. I passed it on for someone to get some more use out of it. But that shoe, we managed to get up to 99 miles and it had so much more life left in it. It was unbelievable. A very durable shoe in terms of racer, definitely a bang for your buck. The thing with the Carbon X that I absolutely loved, despite the stack height, it did feel a little bit more like a traditional racing flat just because of how firm the midsole was. It was a very firm ride, certainly not like the Nike Zoomx Vaporfly Next Percent, nothing like that. But what Hoka One One do so well is they produce shoes which glide you through that transition phase and make you just run the smoothest you've ever run. The Carbon X was the first shoe where I felt like I ran so smooth. Then of course the Rocket X came along, which we'll talk about very shortly. But I managed to PR in the half marathon and the 20-mile distance in the Carbon X. I remember running in the 20-mile race, no, it was the half marathon, sorry. And I was in a group of vaporflies and they were all just thud, 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 super noisy. And this Carbon X was just gliding across the ground, super silent, an absolutely beautiful shoe. And then we move on to the Rocket X, the second shoe in the list. The latest of the racing shoes that I've bought, and the only one in this list I have not yet officially raced in. But that will change over the coming months. That will change because hopefully races will start appearing again and I'll be able to get this shoe a good run out at a good local race, and we'll see how it does. But just like the Carbon X, it has incredible features and it took what the Carbon X had and improved upon it. It lost some of the weight that the Carbon X had. The Carbon X had this thick rubber slab along the bottom which was just contributing to so much weight, because I really loved the upper of the Carbon X, very lightweight, just as good as any other upper that I'd used in a racing shoe this year. But the midsole and outsole, that rubber thick slab of outsole, was just a little bit too heavy and kind of pushed itself outside the realms of being too competitive. But I really do feel like the Rocket X has made steps forward to becoming a little bit more competitive. It's not quite there, it's not quite up there with the Endorphin Pros, the Adidas Pros, the Next Percents, but it's getting closer. So not only have we shedded weight, but it's a little bit softer underfoot, meaning I'd feel a little bit more comfortable taking this shoe to the marathon distance than maybe say the Carbon X. Having said that, I ran 20-mile race in the Carbon X absolutely fine. So in my opinion, both shoes are great, but I should think this will be a little bit more comfy. And once again, just like the Carbon X, a super smooth ride, buttery smooth. You're just gliding. It feels absolutely effortless. It feels like the shoe is just aiding you with everything that you're trying to do, with your gait cycle, toe off, when you're landing, just everything. You just land, rock, roll, and off you go. And let's jump forward to the third shoe on the list, the Next Percent. This shoe needs no introduction. You guys know what this shoe is, and it was for a year and a half very hard to get hold of. It seems to be in abundance now on the Nike website in the mango colorway, so you can go and grab a pair. They're finally in a bit more of a mass stock situation. Whereas before, this thing was like gold dust to try and get hold of. I actually didn't get my hands on a pair for over a year, and I got them in May. We've done a lot of time trials in these shoes over the summer, and I was finally able to race in them in my Shepherdine Marathon where we ran the 2:44. This shoe for me now has 90 miles in it, so you can see I've only raced once in it officially, done a couple of time trials and a few training runs in them, and already the mileage is stacking up. What do I have to say about this shoe? I can see why it's the best. Begrudgingly, it took me a little while to warm to the shoe. First run was very, very strange. I went out straight away, 7-mile tempo run. I felt like I was sinking in. I felt like I was having to work harder than the Endorphin Pro, which we'll talk about shortly. And it just felt a completely different sensation, like a trampoline. You literally land, sink in and bounce. It was very strange. But after that, we warmed into the shoe. And I think for me, when I took it out on its 20-mile long run test, that's where this thing shone. And from that moment onwards, I realized exactly what the hype was all about in the shoe. I have to say, in my opinion, I haven't tried the Adios Pro, which looks to be rivaling the Next Percent now, especially after all those records tumbled in the Valencia half and full marathon in this shoe. But I have to say, this thing for me is top of the class from what I have tried. In terms of performance, you just can't get anything better, and it certainly does. Oh, I hate to say this, but it certainly does warrant the price tag. And you know, I have to say begrudgingly, because I do love the Next Percent. It is the best performer out there, but every other shoe of Nike's that I've tried this year have either been bad or very bog standard and average. And I'd much rather back a brand like this, Saucony, producing a shoe out of the blue. The Endorphin Pro, the Endorphin series has taken this year by storm. The Speed and the Pro are two of the three of that trilogy that I got my hands on, and I was absolutely blown away. The Speed for me is possibly one of the most versatile shoes this year, and the Pro, in terms of feel, is my absolute favourite racing shoe of 2020. But why is it my favourite feeling? Because it feels light, it feels fast. The combination of that midsole, that speed roll technology, which is the curvature in the geometry of the way the outsole and the midsole is shaped, and the carbon plate in there just make you want to move. It is insane. When you get rolling in this shoe, it feels absolutely effortless. Unlike the Next Percent where you're bouncing and shifting off, these things feel like you're rolling. They just feel absolutely incredible. And I think what Saucony have done this year, we just have to take our hats off to them to produce a shoe out of the blue, to come up there, right up there, and compete with someone like the Next Percent is incredible. I cannot wait to see what they do with version 2. So those are my 4 racing shoes that I have tried this year, but as you can see, there are some big glaring gaps, big gaping holes of shoes that I have not included in the list. Let's maybe say the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, the Asics Metarator, the Adidas Adizero Pro or the Adios Pro, whatever. There's 2 of them, aren't there? The New Balance RC Elite. These are all shoes I have not been able to test due to the fact that they do not go up to my UK size 13. Let me rest assured and tell you, at least the Asics and the New Balance would have been in my list, and now watching all of the records tumble in the Adidas, I certainly would have done my best to get my hands on those as well. So maybe I need to chop the ends of my toes off, but either way, it would be great in 2021 to hopefully see some of these manufacturers open up the spectrum so that some of us bigger feet runners can try some of their racing shoes. I'm very grateful this year to Hoka, to Saucony and to Nike to allow us to race, to allow me and other big-footed people to be able to race in their racing shoes. Let's hope that next year they can open up some more. So out of that list that I've just mentioned, if you've been fortunate enough to snag a pair of any of those racing shoes, do let me know in the comments below what your favourite has been, or favourites if you have tried multiple. Let me know your top 5, top 3, top 2, and how they stack up against the ones that I've talked about in my list. So there we go, that's my top racing shoe video of 2020 wrapped up. Let me know in the comments below, as I said, what your favourites are. It'd be great to get that conversation going. And of course, over the coming week or two, I'll be recording the Running Shoe Awards for 2020. We had great fun doing that in 2019, and I'm delighted to bring it back this year. I need to plan, I need to prepare, I need to organise those categories, and I need to get everything ready to sit down and record that video. But either way, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Until then.